Well, hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to OLC TV for some more Stoneshard, this time with our top 5 survival tips for the early game. So, you've beaten the prologue, you've had your initial chat with Varen, and you've picked your class. What should you do next? Well, our tip number 1 is really simple. It's save the game. Saving the game in Stoneshard isn't all that straightforward, however. There are only 2 places that I know of where you can save the game. 1 is in this inn, and 2 are in beds from cleared out bandit camps. We're nowhere near a cleared out bandit camp, so first thing we're going to do is rock up to this chap here and say, I need a bunk. Allows you to save the game. And you can choose how much money you want to spend for how many days. Of course, the longer you spend in town, the cheaper it is to rent a bed. Though, for example, my maths isn't wonderful, but I think 110 crowns for 2 weeks is a touch on the expensive side. If I was to do 2 weeks, I'd do 1 week for 50 and then a second week for 50, totaling at 100 crowns. I'm not sure if that is an error in the game or if really 2 weeks is an extraordinarily expensive way of buying it. But I would do, first and foremost, because you don't have that much gold, 1 day for 10 crowns. And when you have that done, there we go. We can then head upstairs. Upstairs is where you'll find the rooms. So, up here, in this room here is our bed. Now, another thing you should take note of just before you save is that there's an apple on the table here. Any food you can get hold of, especially for free, is going to be extremely useful. So take the apple, rock up in here, click on the bed, and sleep to your heart's content, and that will save the game. Okay, so you have woken up, the game is saved, what do you do next? Well, this isn't a proper tip, so I'm going to fit this in between tip number 1 and tip number 2. And that is this little chest here. This little chest here is yours. It's yours for storing equipment in, and it is safe for you to store stuff in here. No one's going to steal it. It will be saved. So anything that you cannot fit in your inventory that you wish to keep to sell at a later date, or for potentially equipping at an extra date, certainly stocking up on medical supplies, things like that, shove it in this chest here. It'll stay with you for as long as you need it. But tip number 2 is really simple. Let's get out of this inn. And tip number 2 is, wherever you go, and this is a survival game, you're going to need to take supplies. And these supplies will include water. And right here in this market square, they have a well. And at this well, if you right click on it, you can choose to fill the water skin. This will fill your water skin for free. You will go through water when you're out adventuring. So make the most of the opportunity to fill your water skin and make the most of it being free. And okay, tip number 3. Your first quest is to talk to the Osbrook's Elder. Now, the Osbrook's Elder is living inside this building here, just north of the market square and just south of the inn. Now, before you speak to him, one of the first things you want to do is go in and loot the place for everything it has. The guards, for reasons I don't fully understand, don't seem to mind. Sometimes you'll come up short, these things won't have anything in. Sometimes they'll just have a lump of coal. Coal sells for 10. This is the early game. Take it. Absolutely take it. But if you keep heading through all of these rooms, taking everything they have, even 3 gold is fair enough, you will come across this room here, where there is a massive supply of weapons. And all of these weapons, sure, it's not a huge amount of gold, but 25, whatever, better than nothing. You're spending 10 gold a night just to keep yourself in saves, so make the most of it, steal everything that's not nailed down, and then when you've run out of inventory space, go flog it, come back, and steal some more. And certainly one of the best places to sell it to this chap over here. So here is the town's blacksmith. If we go up and speak to him, you'll see he's got a pretty decent supply of gold. He also has a pretty decent supply of equipment. And if we just go across and give him all this extra stuff that we don't need, we'll soon start to see our gold levels starting to fly up. Whoop. And there we go. We can also chuck him some gold because, you know, some coal for gold because he quite likes it. And a boar hide. Fantastic. Excellent. We now have gold and we can head back and do some more looting. And tip number 4, as you'll see, our character is a little bit hungry. Hunger affects your energy restoration, which means that your spells, a lot of your skills, things like that can't be used. Fortunately, this chap here, this lady here, and this lady here can all help you with this problem. So I'll give you an idea of what it's like. You will have your starting food. Now, different characters will start with different food, but you can also buy extra food from these chaps. Now, the butcher has some of the most expensive but most useful foodstuffs you can buy, and that are the smoked hams. Now, my character starts off with a smoked ham, but as you can see, it only has 2 pips, which means 2 uses, versus these ones, which have 4 uses. They are pricey, they're 203, but they don't go off. Most other foodstuffs, if we just hover over this apple, you'll see will spoil in 5 days. These will never spoil, which makes them the best use of all foods because you don't have to worry about having to eat them if you don't need to. So I strongly advise, if you have the gold, and you should do after looting everything in this village, is getting your hands on some of these. If you can't afford it, by all means, pick up some roasted drumsticks, pick up some cooked venison, but you'll see they'll spoil quite quickly. If you have a look at the other vendors for what they sell on the old foods front, you'll see lots and lots of apples, grapes, things like that. These are useful. They help with thirst as well, it should be pointed out, but they all spoil. They do, however, only take up 1 space and are cheaper if you cannot afford the smoked ham. And of course, cooked carp spoils in 2 days. Breadstuffs as well spoil in 5 days. These are all single space items as opposed to a double space item. So, you know, if you're pushed for space, they're not a bad option. But again, they will spoil quickly. And yeah, all right, they're cheap. It's 14 gold as opposed to 200. And yeah, the other one may last 4 times, but you know, these will only last the once, but they are considerably cheaper. If you don't have the gold, by all means, go nuts, stock up on some fruit and vegetables. But you will need food when you go out hunting, when you go out on quests, because as you can see from my character here, he's hungry. The best way to deal with that is through eating. And tip number 5, you need to get yourself a ranged attack. Ranged attacks will be the difference between life and death in this game. If you do not have a bow as your starting weapon, or if you do not have a spell like the Fire Burst from the prologue as the mage, you're going to need to get your hands on bows and arrows as soon as you possibly can, because getting hold of a treatise to do flame attacks and things like that, I mean, the treatise costs about 800 from the vendors. It's going to take a while for you to get that. One of the places you can get it is from the good old barracks that we talked about looting earlier. In this little corner here, they have a bow and arrows. Now, this bow and arrow, it's not the best in the world, but if you can start to do, say, 18 damage every time you hit, even if it's like a 1 in 3 chance to hit, get two, maybe 3 of those hits in before they come close to hitting you. 1 swipe from your axe, they're as good as dead. So yeah, get hold of a bow as soon as you can. The cheapest place to get hold of it is right here in the barracks. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, and one final bonus tip. When you have looted the village, bought your supplies, filled your water skin, and saved, and got yourself a range attack, what you want to do is head off into the woods and try a little bit of hunting. Now, I have come across a battle here between some goons and some wolves. These chaps do not like me. The wolves do not like me. I'm hoping they'll kill themselves off before I have to get involved too deeply in the fight. However, we may as well help out from a distance with our ranged attacks, which is why we brought our bow. You can see, even though I'm clicking on this chap, I'm missing him and hitting the one behind. Oh, there's a critical hit just in there. Oh, that spear chap is suffering badly here. Oh, you can see that's a pelt that's just moved there. Okay, we're going to need our wonderful block thing. Bash, and he's dead. Okay, come on, come on, come on. One, there we go. And let's put the block up, and we move towards him. Good. There we go, and they are dead. And if we have a look on the ground, look at all of that. We have a wolf pelt there, which is worth a chunk of money. I should state as well, if you can get your hands on a fox pelt, that is worth the most by far. But we've got arrows nearby, we've got falcons, which are worth a lot. So yes, go hunting in the forest, bring back as much as you can, flog all of this stuff, give yourself extra XP, because leveling up is quite slow compared to the prologue. Then go off, head into your first quest and walk it. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you've enjoyed these top 5 survival tips for Stoneshard early game. If you have, please feel free to leave a like and subscribe, share it amongst your friends. And yes, I look forward to hearing from you in the comments section below. Do you have any tips that you think are more useful? Do you have better ideas than I do? If you do, leave them below. Thank you very much for joining me. Bye-bye.